Hi there, today we're going to work with square roots. Okay, so a square root of a number is one of its two equal factors. A radical sign, which looks like that, we call it a radical sign or the square root, is used to indicate a positive square root. Every positive number has both a negative and positive square root. Alright, so a couple examples. If I'm looking at the square root of 1, you want to find the positive square root of 1, which is 1 squared. Basically what we're saying is that, alright, the square root of 1, we're thinking what number times itself will get you to 1? Well, 1 squared, or 1 times 1, equals 1. So the square root of 1 equals 1. If I'm looking at number 2, again, thinking about what number can be multiplied by itself, two equal factors, to get me 16, I know that 4 times 4 equals 16. But I want it to be a negative square root, in this case here, so I'm going to say it's a negative 4 squared gets me to negative 16. Okay? Alright, so we have 1 squared, and we have negative 4 squared is what that's going to be, or negative 4. Yeah, so negative 4. Cool. All right, and the next one, we have find both square roots. We have 0.25. So it's positive and negative, so we're going to find both. In this case here, we know that 0.5 squared, because 0.5 times 0.5 is going to equal 0.25. So we would say 0.5 is the square root of 0.25. Okay? Again, you can look at a calculator real quick if you get stuck and type in 0.25 and the square root button, and it tells you what it's going to be. So in our case here, we would have both a positive 0.5 and a negative 0.5 become the solutions for those ones there. Alright, so there we go over there. Okay, so, and then find this one here. With a negative square root, you can't do that. You can't have a negative number and take a square root because there's nothing that would work for that. No negative number, a negative number times a negative number equals a positive 49, and a 7 times 7 equals 49. There's no way to get to a negative 49, so it's not possible. So there's no real square root. It doesn't exist. Later on in math, you might discover that there is a solution, but we call those I, or imaginary numbers, because they're not real. Alright, so you can also use square roots to solve for problems. So if I have a squared equals 9, in order to eliminate, remember when we did solutions before, we had like equations, we had 3a equals 9. We would say, okay, how are these joined together? Well, they're joined by multiplication, so we do the inverse. Well, the opposite, or the inverse of multiplication is division, so we divided both sides by 3, and a equals 3 in that case there. Well, the inverse of a squared is taking the radical. So you do the radical, or square root of both sides. Okay? Once you do that, your solution is going to become plus or minus square root of 4 over 9. We reduce that, we think, okay, well, 4 times, what gives you 4? What number times itself? 2. 2 times 2 is 4, and 3 times 3 is 9. So we're going to have either a positive 2/3 or a negative 2/3 as our solution. Okay, so if I had a squared equals 16, I would do the square root of both sides. A is going to be equal to plus or minus 4. Okay, it could be positive 4 or minus 4 because they're both going to work and make that equal. Okay, all right, let's look at some square root examples here. So here we have 2, or sorry, we have 4. So what number times itself will get you there? Well, we would say a 2. It's going to work out just fine. So square root of 4 is 2. Okay, square root of 9 is going to be 3 times 3. So square root of 9 is 3. Here, I want to get the square root of 49. So we're going to say square root of 49 is 7. And we're going to say that we're going to go with a negative 7 because we want a negative answer there. So we can say negative 7 is fine. That's fine there. Here, same idea. We have 5. So we could say it's a negative 5 in that case there, because 5 with a negative in front, okay? Because that's a 7, almost like times a negative 1 to get the negative 5 there. Think of it that way, right? It's like a negative 1 times 7 to get you negative 7. So that's why we would write it like this. Here, plus or minus square root of 0.01. Well, 1/10 times 1/10 equals 1/100th, like that. Okay, so in this case here, we would say it's going to be either positive 1/10 or negative 1/10, which you can write it like that, or you can write it as plus or minus 0.10. Okay, for this guy here, square root of 9 is 3, square root of 16 is 4, so you usually just write it down as 3/4, just like that. Over here, 0.64, well, 0.8 times 0.8, I mean 8 because 8 times 8 is 64, so 0.8 times 0.8 equals 0.64. So we would say this one would be a minus 0.8, so I end up with a negative sign there in the front. And finally over here, I have a negative underneath here, so this is not going to be possible. We would say no solution because I can't have a negative underneath the square root sign for that one there. Solving for ones here, we take the square root of both sides. Square root of 121 is going to be x equals 11, because 11 squared would be 121. Here, square root of both sides. 81, square root of 81 is 9, square root of 100 is 10. Double check that, does it work? Well, what is 9/10 times 9/10? Well, that equals 81 over 100. That matches that. This one, square root of both sides. So what's that going to be? Square root of 3600 is going to be, in this case here, 600. Or is it 60? Well, what is 600 times 600? 600, I think it's 60. 60 times 60 is going to give you that one there. Sorry about that. Let's go with 60. So 60 is our solution for that one. And then finally, square root. Square root of 121 is going to be 11. 196. Is that 13 times 13? Nope. How about 14 times 14? Yep, it is. So 14 there. That becomes our answer for number 12. All right, that's what we're doing there. Hope that helps. We'll come back and check your homework in just a minute. All right, here we go. Let's take a look at our homework. So the square root of 16, I think about 4 times 4 is 16. So square root of 16 is going to be 4. Number 3, what two numbers multiply together to get you 36? Well, 6 times 6 is 36, so we're going to say 6. What numbers multiply together to get you 121? Well, it's 11 times 11, so we're going to say 11. All right, getting to the 0.04. Well, in that case there, we probably say 0.2 times 0.2 is going to be 4. 2 spots behind the decimal, so 1, 2 is 0.04. So our solution would be 0.2, but we want it to be a negative, so we're going to say negative 0.2. Here we have 0.81, so we're going to go with a 0.9, because 0.9 times 0.9 is 0.81, and we're going to go plus or minus 0.9. Square root of 16 is 4, square root of 9 is 7, so we're going to go 4/7. Number 13, s squared. Take the square root of both sides. Square root of 81 is 9. Square root of both sides, we're going to say x equals 7. Square root of both sides here, square root of 900. That one I'm not super familiar with there. Let's see what the calculator tells me real quick. Oh, interesting. Well, that makes sense because square root of 9 is 3. So I'm going to do 30 times 30, so y equals 30. Square root of both sides here, we'd have 7 over 8. In this case, square root of both sides, we have 1 over 10, because 10 times 10 is 100. And finally over here, square root of both sides. Square root of 9 is 3. Square root of 441. Not sure. I would almost go with like something like 18, because 8 times 8 is 81, so it gives me a 1 in that space there. Let me see. I get 81, 8, 16, 0, 8, and 1. 1, 14. Oops. Yeah, 8, 1. That didn't quite work out. Let's see. 4, 4, 1, square root, 21. That seems interesting. So there you go. 21 is the answer. So we get 3 over 21, which can be reduced to 1/7. Interesting. And that's pretty much it for square roots there. One thing you probably learned in junior high was how to estimate with square roots. This lesson doesn't go into that at all, so it is something you kind of want to just be aware of. That sometimes you might get find a square root of something, let's say like 40. Okay, and you do want to be able to think about if it's 40, well, you might know the square root of 36, you might know the square root of 49, right? Square root of 36 is 6, 49 is 7. 40 is in between here, right? It's a little bit closer to the 6 than it is to the 7. So square root of 40 is probably going to be not 6.5, but probably a little less than 6.5, somewhere in this range here, maybe 6.4, something like that. So how to estimate, you have to know your basic ones there. So let's just see what the square root of 40 is, and we get 6.32 is what it actually ends up being. Okay, so that's something else to kind of just be aware of. You will have to be able to do that at some point in your math career. That's it for today. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.